validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Today is the Monday that I told y'all that I was going to be going over a lot of the things that have been going on in the country this year. Well, not this year, just this last 30 days, just this last like 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. However, make sure that you guys like and subscribe. We are live 7 nights a week. We're supposed to start about 30 minutes ago at about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, which is 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and about 7 o'clock California time. That is technically supposed to be about 4 a.m. Green Minutes time and about 4 a.m. Universal Standard Time. So just note that even though we do operate on seat peak time, which means that we're going to come in late every now and again, we're working out a lot of the kinks as we try to get the show aired so we don't have as many technical difficulties once we get everything started. Now that we got everything on the ball, make sure that you guys like and subscribe. If you guys would like to throw some comments in, you could do so in the comment section. Try to keep them reasonably appropriate because we do have some young folks in here that's under the age of 18. So we want to show them some respect as they come here to learn as well, to get some knowledge from this and that when we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Furthermore, for the rest of you that are looking forward to some of the promos we've got coming up, I was reaching out to, I think it's Vincato. I have to touch base with them. They were supposed to be sending us a product coming soon. I think in the next week or two. I'm not too sure, but as soon as they get that out there, we will be able to show you guys what it looks like. Give you guys a nice review on it. We're still supposed to be meeting up with Fit Chef, trying to get some information from them to promote that product as well. And then we're also supposed to be getting Discovery app. They're supposed to be doing a meal plan thing that's supposed to be allowing individuals to fit the ability to get like a internet spaced cookbook scenario where you can just cook just about anything under the sun using their membership. Now, I think that it'd be a fantastic thing for me to get my hands on because, you know, collaborating with them, I could end up with a pay for itself cookbook scenario where you guys can see some awesome ways to make some food. I can have some awesome ways to eat some food, and the people who sign up, I get a commission for that. So I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So I'm just waiting on the content creator to provide me with the links to promo the product, because however we're going to work this out, kind of waiting on them to respond. I'm going to send them another follow-up email during the week, because I do send everybody emails over the weekend because I'm getting the most work done on the weekend, but I am going to try to send them a follow-up communication during the week and see where they are. I did send everybody an email as well as message them on the primary thing. So we're going to be seeing what's going on with a lot of those products. In the meantime, we've got, I think we're going to combine two topics tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're supposed to be talking about the precious metals. No, we already talked about precious metals. We're supposed to be talking about the minerals, but I also wanted to kind of cover the basis a little bit of the ways of somewhat of a side hustle kind of thing. We can start talking about that, and that will give us the ability to touch base on some ways to make some reasonable income. And what I think I might do, because I typically find places that you can get you a good job in America, but what I think I might do is touch base on a couple of countries that we are talking about, so that we can kind of get a better understanding of where the where you can go to get you some quick cash in some other places, because it's not just about where you make money in America, it's where we can make money all over the world, especially if you're traveling and you're trying to just subsidize your income. So keep in touch with that information for tomorrow. And then we still got to pick our country for Wednesday. I haven't done that yet. Normally I have that already set up, but you know, I've kind of been behind with a lot of stuff I've been doing over the past weekend. Now, since I kind of got through some of our midnight announcements, we're going to go ahead and get started with our first guest of the night, Usman, with his special shout out. Giving you guys your intro music. Special shout out to Usman, ladies and gentlemen. Utilizing one of our variations of the higher ground show. Usman says, reporter, Mr. President, how was the meteor destroyed? President, a rocket released 10 of Xander's suits, cutting the meteor into 10 pieces. Xander, I'm writing those suits as tax write-offs. Shit. Oh boy. Oh boy. Special shout out to Usman. He be giving us some. His jokes of the day is really cool. Hey, so Diddy was talking about how the 2019 Joker looked like the outfit I was wearing yesterday. I've got the side-by-side photo here on this in the green room, waiting on Diddy to pop his head up so that we can go ahead and let Diddy know that that's not the same suit. It's not even the same colors. So you know, I'm waiting on him to show up so that we can do some debriefing, because you know, here on This and That, I'm very rarely in error. Actually, I haven't been wrong yet, and I'm waiting to break that trend that because close is no cigar at the end of the day. I'm either right or I'm wrong. And so far, I have not had anyone prove me wrong, but they have definitely been slightly misinformed. So he was precious minerals tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk about diamonds anyway, because there's a toss up as to whether or not diamonds are mineral. But I'm going to be talking about the precious minerals and diamonds, in case those individuals that claim that diamonds are not minerals. But I did come to find out that diamonds do not hold as much monetary value in investments as some of the other precious minerals that we're going to be talking about. I did talk about a few precious minerals last week, so I might be restating some of them if there is more information on them. But if not, I will defer you to last Tuesday's show, because whatever we were talking about last Tuesday included the mention of some precious metals. I think because we were talking about something that Donald Trump did. Oh, we were talking about Donald Trump digging into precious minerals in the United States to offset the tariffs from China. And as a result, we ended up talking about the precious metals that we could invest in. And we ended up talking about the stock options, where to go, the trading platforms and stuff like that. So I do believe that was on last Monday's show. Regardless, I'm still going to talk about precious metals because I said I would. But since I've already covered a lot of the valuable stuff that you can get with investing in precious metals, and then I think I talked about precious metals in the Chile show as well, because we talked about Chile and we talked about Dubai. So I know that if I didn't talk about it on Monday, I definitely talked about it on Wednesday, because we talked about precious metals, we talked about oil, we talked about real estate, we talked about trust agents that could help you get your trust set up in multiple different countries. So I gave you the name of all the companies that you could, all the countries that had a trust company that you could go to, where most of those countries were zero taxes on personal gains income in that country. So the trust itself would not be taxed, because the person would not be taxed. So that allows you to set stuff up. The only difference is that when you're doing a non-residential trust, you have to set it up in person. So while you can get most of that stuff together, you still have to fly to that country and then sign the final documents and make it official. So you're still going to that country on business. Usman said, in Islam, to help the poor, we pay mandatory charity on the gold and silver we own every year. Well, mandatory charity is considered a tax from American standpoints, but this does not apply to diamonds. Right. So you're paying a mandatory charity to an entity that's going to distribute that wealth to the poor, but it does not apply to diamonds, which also means that if you're not trying to do that mandatory charity, you can invest in diamonds. So while the diamonds might not have as large of a revenue increase on an annual basis, it may bypass certain types of laws that require you to pay taxable gains or gains tax, something to that effect. And that's one of the reasons why I was going to talk about diamonds, because you have to diversify, you have to know what you're doing, and then you have to find other ways to put your money in a bunch of other places to make your money make money for you. So there is no one way, and there's multiple ways to strategize this. I was sitting over here looking at how the dividends that we've been investing in, because everything is on a decline in the recession, and that's not a bad thing, because the poorer you are, the easier it is for you to invest in it and have more returns. The only difference is that in a bull market where you would buy into a stock, it would increase in value. You can sell the stock and then get your dividends off of the stock, and then use that to go and buy something else. If you buy into the stock and the stock drops, you can't sell it without taking a financial loss. So what has to happen is that you buy into the stock. If it drops, you leave it there. You still get your dividend distribution. You can either reinvest in that stock or invest in another stock. But if you're up on that stock, what I recommend is that you buy in 3 or 4 days before the ex-dividend date, sell it 2 or 3 days after the ex-dividend date. If the stock hasn't dropped its value, now you've got all the money you invested into the stock, and the dividend distribution is coming to you because you were on the record on the ex-dividend day. So even if you sell the stock after the ex-dividend day, you should still get the dividend distribution because you were recorded on that stock. Now, because there's a rise and fall in some of these stocks, it's going to be a strategic plan if you're going to use the same quantity of capital to get dividends from one stock on, say, the 20th, and then get a dividends from another stock on, say, the 29th, and get paid out for the same quantity of capital being passed back and forth between two stocks. But you also have to understand, depending on the trade platform, there's a 2-day hold on the return of your money, and then there's a 1-day or 2-day delay, not including weekends, for both of these scenarios before the stock buys up the new stuff. So you have to plan it carefully. If you need 3 or 4 days to buy in before the ex-dividend date, and then it just so happens that there's a 2-day weekend or a 3-day weekend, and then you still need 2 business days to clear your money, you might need a 5-day gap between the day that you get your ex-dividend from one stock and the day that you meet the ex-dividend of the next stock, so that it clears before the next stock closes out. That way you can get it from both stocks. Now, if you find 2 stocks that play off of one another like that, you can buy one and then meet your ex-dividend date, sell it, buy the next one, meet your ex-dividend date, sell it, buy back into the first one, and then wait until your next ex-dividend date. And you would get dividends from both situations. And that might be something that a day trader might do to keep to increase the quantity of percentage that they get. But that typically, that process works better when you're in a bullish market. We're in a bearish market because everything is starting to depreciate in value due to the massive quantity of tariffs. So since everything is starting to depreciate in value, you want to buy and hold, get your dividend shares, and then wait until the market goes back up above what you paid for it when you originally got it. You can continue to invest in it, but you don't want to sell anything while it's on the decline, because you want to make sure that you get all of your money back once the market comes back. So you got to figure out how you're going to navigate that stuff. Me personally, if I'm adding more money to my stock portfolio, I would probably put more money on some of the monthly dividend distributing shares, and then use the dividends from those and put those on the quarterlies, so that everything goes up with the same quantity of capital that I'm investing. So I invest one stack of cash, get the dividends back from that, and invest the dividends into something else. And then that will give me the ability to have a larger portfolio all the way around. This is one of the reasons why I was telling you guys about redistributing your wealth and reinvesting and investing at the same time, because it's crazy how, like, let me touch on Usman's thing and then I'm gonna get back to this. Usman said it's a religious obligation, part of my faith, and it's for the betterment of society. Well, I respect that, Usman, but you have to think about it like this: a religious anytime that you have a financial obligation because you made money off of something, that's called a tax. Okay. Because again, the government, the difference between the religion that you practice, out of the faith that you have, mandatorily requiring you to give up a percentage of what you make, that tax is the same as the government making it a requirement for you to give up a certain quantity of money that you made. It's the same thing. It's still a tax. I mean, it makes you feel better by calling it a mandatory charity, but a charity is voluntary. Once it becomes mandatory, it's a tax. It's not voluntary. Now, because it's a religion, there may not be legal consequences for not paying the tax. Maybe just the congregation might look down upon you or something to that effect. But the fact is that it is still, if it's mandatory, it's a tax. If you profit and you are required to take some of your profit and give it to a different entity, whether it's the government, whether it's the poor people on the street, whether it's an investor, if somebody gave you money and you turn a profit from that money and you've got to give some of your profit to somebody else, that's a tax. You got to pay that guy back. That's a tax. then if you're not able to get back from the entity that you're giving it to, you're not even really investing in that. You are literally surrendering permanently that capital. That's a tax. Still, much respect to the religion, but from the business mindset, understanding that when you're forced to give up your profits, that's a tax. With all due respect, that's a tax. Now, I'd still do it if I was practicing that religion. I actually, in practicing that religion, if my faith is that strong, I probably wouldn't try to bypass it. But from a business standpoint, if you're forced to surrender anything because you made a profit, that's a tax. Only when, and that's the difference between the religions that you've got in Islam versus the charity that we've got here in America. We choose to give a certain quantity of money to charity so that we don't have to give that quantity of money to the government. Now, notice that even though it's still a requirement to give up that same quantity of capital, the difference is that we're choosing to give it to a charity that could potentially help the poor or the sick or something to that effect, to avoid giving it to the government. We're still required to give it away, but we have the conscious choice to voluntarily give it to a good cause, as opposed to being mandatorily required to give 10% to the church. We're not mandatorily required to give 10% to the church. It's an option. So that's kind of the difference. And you say the tax amount is 2.5% annually. That's not that bad in comparison to what the American churches are asking for, 10% of your wealth per person, to sit in the church once a week and listen to somebody tell you how you're going to hell for the decisions that you make. I mean, I think your religion's doing a great job. 2.5%. That's 25% of a Catholic church. Shoot, I might have to change religions just so I could change the tax rate. Your guy's cheaper than my guy. Make sure y'all like and subscribe as y'all come in. What was I saying just a moment ago? We were talking about saving money and investing money and stuff to that effect. I was about to say, so lately, like yesterday, somebody jumped in and asked us if we was like a red pill, blue pill, green pill, black pill podcast kind of thing. And I'm like, no, we just came across a topic where like how the women aren't acting right is an issue. And I was doing some calculations today, and you know how with Usman, when we get together and we start crunching some numbers, we start coming up with some facts that people don't really think about. And I came to deliberate the fact that a lot of females that actually prefer $100,000 a year man actually are missing a key component, because I did talk about this before, but I actually crunched the numbers this time. A man that makes $50,000 a year, living a $65,000 a year income, could date a woman that's making $55,000 a year, where she makes $5,000 a year more than him. She could contribute $15,000 a year to that man's income, giving them a $65,000 a year income, which is almost a $69,000 a year living comfortable median. The woman could pocket $40,000 a year. Now, if she pockets $40,000 a year or more out of this situation, and she was to not donate, but distribute that to 15% interest or more stock options that are dividend distributing options on a weekly, not a weekly, but on a monthly or quarterly basis, she would then be able to turn out $1 million or more, like a 1.1 million, like 1.1 million or $1.5 million worth of capital gains inside of 10 years, where instead of, and this is the funny part, because if you're getting that 15% interest off of that million or more dollars, you're making almost $175,000 a year off of the dividend distribution. So especially if you're utilizing specifically monthly dividend distributing stocks that are 15% or higher, or averaging out of the whole 15% total, you would be able to put away approximately $4,400 or $4,500 a month every month for 10 years, because I mean, you ain't paying for nothing. And that would give you about $1,175,000 in 10 years, which means that you could retire yourself, retire your husband, and y'all could spend the next 20 years of your lives living good. So if you met somebody in your early 20s, hell, let's say you met somebody in your late 20s, early 30s, you could do a 10-year plan like this, where y'all could just rough it the way things are right now. Find you a $50,000 a year man that can balance the budget and not waste money. That's all you got to do. He could just make simply $50,000 or $55,000 a year, and you guys live inside of his income. You take your paycheck, throw all your whole paycheck into the stock option. You're making 55,000 a year. Within 10 years of that relationship, y'all will be millionaires. And your combined $110,000 a year income that you guys would have to scuffle for would be surpassed by $175,000 a year income that neither one of you got to get out of bed for. So instead of women chasing a man that's $100,000 a year income, why not chase a $50,000 a year income man that doesn't waste money, so that you could take your $50,000 a year, or find you a $60,000 a year man and take your $60,000 a year, and y'all put y'all $120,000 a year together and make y'all $180,000 a year income off of $1 million investment over the course of 10 years, where y'all just stop leeching off of your partner and work together for success. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick, because I was like, holy crap, based on the numbers, you could find a broke dude and y'all could become a millionaire if y'all just balance the budget and spend your money wisely. So instead of wasting your money on all of this artificial stuff, the hair, the nails, and all this other stuff, if you just did your due diligence with being appropriate and responsible with the money, in 10 years, you could live your best life living with name brand expensive clothes, traveling the world, getting your hair did every 3 weeks, get your nails did every 2 weeks, pearls, all this other stuff, diamonds, whatever the stuff that you needed. And all you got to do is just stay with this dude. Now, keep in mind, like I said before, if you found him at the bottom and you made him a millionaire, he would feel you are entitled to whatever you ask for, which means now you have full access to everything that's not needed to pay bills, because at the end of the day, you helped him build that, which is a different perspective than finding a man that's a millionaire and expecting him to just give you money because you're cute. Putting your effort and finances into the man so that the man can aid you in making yourself financially successful, so that you can go from being broke at 50, 60,000 a year to being a multimillionaire where you're living off of 175,000 a year, is the way to go about doing things if you have the right mindset. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick before we start talking about everything we're going to be talking about today. Now, Usman said the masks don't demand, or the mosques don't demand or ask for it. You decide yourself who you want to give it to. Well, no. I'm not saying that the mosque actually comes and says you must give your money. What I'm saying is that if it is in your religious practice that you must mandatorily decide to give somebody some of your money, it's still a tax. It's like, imagine this, okay? Your mom gives you money every week, but your mom tells you to give some of that to your siblings every week, that you must pick one of them to give some of your money to every week. That means you're being taxed to pay your siblings, because every time you get capital, you got to break them off. It's not an option to keep your money in your pocket. You must break them off. That's a tax. It's the mandatory requirement to pay out because you got a profit. That's the definition of the unwritten definition of a tax. I mean, we could go and get the true definition of tax, but that's what it is that the mandatory requirement to pay out because you received a profit. I was comparing the mosque to the church. I had no idea that the church asked for 20%. No, the church asked for 10%. but it's still outrageous 10% because they're asking for 10% every week to sit in the church on Sunday, and they tell you that you're going to hell for all your decisions. They're not actually helping you make better decisions. They're not leading you down the right path. They're not even telling you what the right path is. They're just telling you what not to do because you're going to go to hell if you do that. And really, every decision that you make leads you to hell, including if you don't donate to the church, you're going to hell. And I'm like, come on, y'all are making it way too difficult. Because the road to hell is paved for good intentions. So, I mean, if I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't, then why not enjoy the pleasures of life in Sodom and Gomorrah? Because if I'm going to hell anyway, I should at least have some fun while I'm at it. That old saying, going straight to hell with gasoline draws on. Yeah, we're gonna try to make this less devastating for us. Oh, but yeah, if you compare the mosque to the church, the mosque doesn't demand anything from you, but the church definitely demands. Did you see in recent times where that pastor had locked the doors and locked the congregation in the church to try to get $40,000 out the congregation? I don't even think he was a Catholic. I think he was a Christian or Baptist minister. And he did this on social media. Like, he literally locked these people in the church to get the $40,000. They didn't charge him 1,200 kidnapping charges. They not playing. Philosophical Xander in the house. Yes, sir. I took a lot of philosophy and ethics classes to offset all of my science classes. So, and some psychology classes too. So I analyze a lot of things. However, it doesn't change the fact that when you start thinking from a universal perspective, you start coming to understand how some things make sense and other things don't. Now, I don't disagree with the mosque asking you to whenever you start profiting, for you to take care of those that are less fortunate. I believe that if we all shared our wealth, which is a communist model, then nobody would be poor. But we also have to understand that you cannot lay on your back and wait for somebody else to take care of you. You have to be putting effort into it, because most religions, the God that you pray to takes care of those who try. They don't take care of those who wait. That you have to put effort in. The Lord provides you with the strength and the resources to get it done yourself. So he helps those who helps themselves, but they don't put as much effort into those who don't try. Like in the Christian religion, what was it, Jonah in the belly of the whale? I mean, he stayed there until he followed instructions. So you got to understand that there's a lot of things going on there. We got to give a special shout out to Pat. Pat's in the house. Pat's in the house. First time tonight. Pat's in the house. I love this one. This one's actually pretty cool. It's actually pretty good. But he asked, how much of the Bible do you think is altered, missing, or tampered with? About 85%. About 85%. Because there's a bunch of missing scripture. There's a bunch of poorly translated versions. There is some information coming out right now about how the King James Bible comes from an individual that originally wrote the Bible for the devil. So, there's a lot of stuff out there about it, but just taking off of the key but you also have to remember that religion back in the day was a way for the state to control the masses. So, or at least that's how history tells it. So typically what I would like, because I understand that you can find a moral compass and a basis of ethical decision-making processes through religious belief. So typically without pushing religion on people. I just like to reference the fact that logic dictates, based on the understanding of the religions that you claim to have so much faith in. There's so many things out there that certain people aren't doing, but they swear to God that they are, or swear to their God that they are the most devout person in that religion. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I believe that there is a higher power, and I believe that there's somebody capable of doing things that I can't do, but I am not going to sit here and say that it is in that person's will that I get what I get, because if I don't put forth effort every day to make change, I will suffer. And I will not put the responsibility of anything that I got going on in the hands of something or someone else when I could have done it, especially if that higher being has given me the capabilities to succeed for myself. Why should I not be self-sufficient? Why should I be codependent to a power that I cannot see nor hear, and then pray that everything will be all right? What if the fate that was destined before me was laid down in advance from the past based on my capabilities to try? And the more I try, the closer I get to my goal. The less I try, the further I get away from my goal. None of that has anything to do with believing. It is about applying yourself to your own success and being first person accountable for the reason why you failed. Because when you fail, you can't blame God for your failure. And ironically, the funny thing is that you're blaming the devil for your failure and you're blaming God for your success. But the person that is able to make you successful should be the same person that, or entity, that is allowed to control your failure. Because if you did not do what you were expected to do, you would receive negative consequences from that same entity. The same way when you don't listen to your mother and father, you get your ass beat. The same way when you follow your parents' instructions, you get rewards. You can't say, well, oh, mommy gives me rewards when I follow instructions and daddy puts his foot in my ass. That doesn't work that way. You're going to get disciplined the same way you get praise. Okay, so I'm gonna come back to Usman real quick, because we got Bayside diving in. Bayside know what time it is. We got Bayside coming into the show. Special shout out to Bayside, first time tonight. We're running through so many of the channel's theme songs. We're gonna be, until I turn these into some awesome trailers. I gotta say, the chorus is amazing. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. But back to Usman's statement. He said there are millionaire pastors all over the place. I have never come across a millionaire Islamic and there are over 50 mosques in my town. You know what's funny about America is that building a church is one of the best ways to avoid paying taxes. And I think that that wasn't even our topic for today. But the fact is that we're on this topic right now. So we're gonna march through it and then get on our presidential discussions. But building a church or building a tax identification that is represented as a church entity, where you end up not only being tax exempt, but you also don't have to pay for the 990 the 990 form. That's a $400 form to show your revenue. And funny, if you show your revenue on a 990 form, you end up getting that $400 back next year, and then you can utilize that $400 to continue to give to the government. But the fact is that to avoid paying that $400, you show your money to the government. They look over your assets, make sure that you're not squandering the money away or using it for personal gain, and then after that, you're good to go. Now, churches don't have to report their money to the IRS because they're churches. So once you're recognized as a church entity, then you are still a publicly funded nonprofit organization, but you are a publicly funded nonprofit organization that is not monitored by the Internal Revenue Service. So the pastor, which is funny the pastor or deacon or priest or whatever, each person that comes to your church that gives them 10% of your income, let's say that each person has a $50,000 a year income. Each person's giving you $5,000 of their income. If you've got 1,000 people in your church, you're multiplying 5,000 times 1,000, which is putting you at somewhere around what, 500,000 or $5 million, something to that effect. You start dealing with these people that have online congregations where they have a 40,000 member following online and a 40,000 member following in person, and everybody's giving them $5,000 out of 80,000 people, where you're almost at, say, 100,000 people giving you 5,000 a person. You start getting closer to $50 million, because out of that, look, see, he said doing the math appropriately, that's about $5 million off of 1,000 people. So imagine 100,000 people, you start getting closer to $500 million. But after they finish paying all of the fees and everything to run that $2 to $5 million building that in order for them to have a cathedral that holds 40,000 people, that's got to be like a $40 million church. So you think, wow, this church is beautiful, blah, 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 $40 million church. Where do they get the money from? Then they got to pay taxes on that, because not all churches are tax exempt. But after they finish paying all their dues, the maintenance, the repairs, just like the 501c3 that I told you guys about, the executive board, which is the congregation, not the congregation, the deacon board, can pay themselves 5% of the money that they get in donations as a salary for working 40 hours a week on church stuff. So they they worry your nerves about the Monday service, the Sunday service, the Wednesday bring the homeless people thing, the choir practice, the baptismal, then the Friday service, and then the Saturday service, and then the Sunday service. And they do that because if they can show 40 hours a week, they can pay themselves 5%. Now, when you start getting 5% of $1 million, you see what I'm saying? You start getting what, $50 million? Well, yeah, about $50 million, somewhere in that area. Not $50 million, $50,000. But when you start looking at $50 million and $500 million, when after you finish paying for the whole overhead and stuff, especially those churches that are flying across the world, doing their choir shows and the church competitions and stuff, he's still taking that 5% out. That 5% can add up to $5 million a pastor or $10 million a pastor. And that person can take their pay and throw it into the stock market, like I've been telling y'all about, and get money back off of that. And ironically, he can mask the profits that he gets from his stock by donating it back to the church. So he can get a large quantity of money, have money making money for him, donate enough of it to the church where he's not paying taxes on stuff, and then he don't gotta get nothing from nothing. Like that pastor with that $52 million house with the $7,000 worth of Louis Vuitton clothes, 3 private jets, and all this other stuff. That's the kind of stuff that that they're doing with the supposed to be men of God. Like Bayside said, Marvin Sapp was the person who held people hostage. And I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, why are they doing these things? But they're doing it to get money. They're not doing it to enlighten people. They're not doing it to bring people closer to God, because the kingdom of God is supposed to be in your heart. When 2 or more people are talking about that religion and that God, you're supposed to be dealing with the kingdom of God. Like, you're supposed to be dealing with, like, God is supposed to be there with you guys while you're praying and talking about the Lord in that particular scenario. So the interesting part about that is, what I find to be very interesting part about that is that you're not supposed to go to any church or steeple to worship the Lord. You're not supposed to go to a temple to worship the Lord. You're supposed to be able to do that from wherever two or more people are standing somewhere talking about the Lord. So we could be having church right now on this podcast because there's at least 4 of us on the show right now that are talking about God or a religious practice of some sort, Buddha or wherever. And every God that we all pray to should all be here in spirit, blessing this podcast, because we're talking about the positivity of enlightenment of and the empowerment of the higher power when done appropriately. So here we go again. We got Bayside, Satellite in here. Special shout out to Satellite. Special shout out to Satellite. First time tonight, diving in. We're about to start getting in to talk about what the president did for us today. So make sure that you guys stay tuned, hit your likes and subscribes. Also, mash those reaction buttons. You definitely want to hit those reaction buttons. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, I actually like this part. This is like a uplifting part. Oh, I can see myself turning that into a promo video. Raising the bar, breaking ground. So, back to it. Now, since we were supposed to be talking about making money, make money for us, we're going to be sitting over here trying to talk about and predict Donald Trump's most shocking moves in March of 2025 based on everything that I know so far. Now, Trump's moves have always been significant, and this month is no exception, with the potential to greatly impact the political landscape. So, he said, breakdancing on top of you, Cuddy. So, it is crucial that we stay informed with everything that's going on. Now, President Trump declared April 2nd, 2025, as Libertarian Day, marking the rollout of sweeping tariffs, including a 25% duty on foreign-made vehicles effective April 3rd. He dismissed concerns about consumer cost, stating if foreign manufacturers raise prices, people will buy American-made cars. True. Unless the American-made manufacturers are increasing the price of their vehicles because of the materials. So gotta think about that part. The announcement triggered a 700-point stock market drop amid declining consumer confidence and rising inflation fears, which again, we're looking at a lot of the most popular brands and companies losing a lot of value. Now, this Goldman Sachs raised its recession probability to 35%, citing trade policy disruptions and slashing in 2025 the GDP growth forecast to 1%, where Goldman Sachs revised its core inflation projection to 3.5%, far above the Fed's 2%, where reciprocal tariffs could average 15%, with exceptions reducing the net impact to 9%. Auto and steel industries face immediate pressure, with additional tariffs on Canada, Mexico goods being imminent. And yes, Donald Trump has assured the issue of TikTok sale before April 5th deadline. He has addressed that. He has repeatedly emphasized his preference for a sale of TikTok to U.S. operations to a non-Chinese buyer to avoid a ban under the National Secretary or national security concerns. Now, on March 30th, which was yesterday, he stated aboard Air Force One that an agreement with ByteDance is expected to be finalized before the deadline, highlighting significant interest from potential buyers and his desire for TikTok to continue operating in the US. Additionally, Trump has indicated flexibility regarding the deadline. He mentioned that if a sale is not concluded by April 5th, he will consider extending the deadline again, as he did earlier this year with a 75-day extension. Now, this is only under the expectation that they are in the process of selling. Now, if they're refusing to sell, then of course the ban is back on. Now, Trump's policies currently aligning with that 950-page Project 2025 that we talked to you guys about before the political campaign started is a conservative blueprint that is including the centralizing control of federal agencies like the Department of Justice and dismantling the Department of Education and merging DHS with border enforcement units and accelerating deportations, slashing renewable energy funding, and prioritizing fossil fuel productions, where Donald Trump originally said that he was not effectively supporting or creating the Project 2025 concept. He is now enforcing or aligning his decisions with some of the expectations from the Project 2025 project that was put together by the Trump administration as far back as 2017. And critics highlight Trump's propensity for misinformation, including unfounded claims about immigration and election fraud, exaggerated economic warnings, invoking the Great Depression, and controversial rhetoric targeting political opponents, labeling Minnesota's governor radical left. I don't understand what that about is going to be some of the things that has really set him apart from some of the other presidents. Now, here in Q1 of 2025, we saw highlighted volatility tied to Trump's trade policies, where the University of Michigan's March survey recorded the highest unemployment expectations since the Great Depression. Trump's March 2025 actions reflect a high-stakes gamble combining protectionism, executive consolidation, and polarizing rhetoric with recession risks looming. Now, in March of 2025, Donald Trump implemented several more significant changes. And these initiatives are going across various policy areas. Trump emphasized the April 5th deadline for ByteDance to divest TikTok's U.S. operations due to national security concerns, and he expressed optimism finalizing the deal with that non-Chinese buyer, and even suggested the potential reduction in tariffs on China to facilitate the sale, because he originally applied the tariff to China to pressure China into selling. So we only have to deal with this inconvenient tariff problem for another 2 months. Maybe 4, if they can't get it signed by April 5th. He also hinted at extending the deadline if necessary, continuing his active involvement on those negotiations. On March 27th, Trump imposed new tariffs on those automobile parts and imports, introducing that 25% import tax. Now, this move is going to aim to strengthen the manufacturing, but also escalate trade tensions globally, where he maintained earlier tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, while signaling flexibility in the negotiations with these countries, specifically because the tariffs that he applied to China, Mexico, and Canada was based on the negotiations related to border control and the acquisition of TikTok. As these countries adhere to his demands, he's going to reduce or remove the tariffs. Now, Trump introduces new Social Security transparency initiatives, including stricter identity verification rules, limited phone access, and more reliance on online services. These changes aim to combat fraud, but may delay services for beneficiaries. Trump rescinded a 1965 directive prohibiting employment discrimination among federal contractors, where he continued reducing the federal workforce via buyouts and layoffs, aligning with that 2025 project that called for a smaller government. His administration considered eliminating the Department of Education and cutting funding for school promoting certain ideologies. So schools that will be talking about historical facts that the current regime does not agree with will no longer receive funding from the U.S. government. That's what's going to happen there. So that's going to be equivalent to those countries that forces schools to teach certain history and certain curriculum based off of the governmental agenda. So as free as we're supposed to be, not as free as we thought. Now, on March 28th, Trump announced an initiative to restore truth to American history by reorienting the Smithsonian Institute as a symbol of national pride. Now, these actions reflect Trump's broader agenda of regulatory rollback, economic protectionism, and conservative social policies. They have yet to take action on OnlyFans, but he's going to do it eventually. The short-term impacts of Donald Trump's March 2025 decisions on the economy and lower income families are likely to be significant, with both direct and indirect consequences. The newly imposed tariffs on auto parts and expanded tariffs on steel and aluminum are expected to increase manufacturing costs, leading to higher consumer prices. Lower income families who spend a larger portion of their income on goods will be disproportionately affected by these price hikes. While tariffs may generate federal revenue, they are projected to reduce the GDP by 0.4% and result in job loss across multiple sectors, including manufacturing and steel using industries. These could exacerbate unemployment among lower income workers reliant on these industries. Stricter identity verifications and reliance on online services may also delay access to the benefits for vulnerable populations, including elderly and disabled individuals who may lack digital literacy or internet access. Y'all better get y'all old behinds out there and learn how to use these dang blasted computers. It make no sense that once you reach a certain age that you decide to deliberately be too stupid to take care of yourself. If your hands don't work, then you're supposed to have a personal assistant. But if your hands do work, then you should be able to use technology. For those old folks that can rub one off in a nursing home, you should be able to use that same hand strength to grab your cell phone and figure out how to get your benefits. If you can get on your cell phone or get on your tablet or get on your smart TV and put on some old jams and listen to the old school music that you grew up with, you got the same capabilities to Google or watch a YouTube video on how to use your cell phone, how to use an app, how to download some stuff, and how to get your benefits. So don't sit there and make it seem like you're too old to be smart when there are people older than you that are the president of the United States and billionaires. If 80-year-old people can maintain billionaire status, then your broke behind should be able to maintain self-sufficiency. Just because you can't leave your house and turn an income don't mean that you can't be responsible outside of your income. Just because the government is paying for your ability to stay old and survive does not mean that you need to give up on applying yourself and put all of your success in the hands of the Lord and wait until somebody else shows pity on your suffering because you too trifling to get off your behind and do something for yourself. I do not believe anybody with the conscious capability to use a remote to change channels on a TV can tell me that they don't know how to use their cell phone to get their governmental benefits. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me I don't know how. It's not that you don't know how. You just don't want to know how. You're too damn trifling to do for yourself, and that's going to cause you to suffer. If you know that you need something, you need to put forth your effort to find a way to go get that, because people are only going to have the patience to help those who help themselves. So if you're not willing to help yourself, you will suffer in this economy. In this upcoming 5 years, you will suffer, and you will suffer greatly, because this is not, the United States is not the country where people are going to give you money because they're told to. This is the kind of country where people are going to divert their cash to another country so that they don't have to give it to this country. And you already see how Donald Trump is cutting everything already. Now, if you've got to fill out your application to renew your benefits online, you need to figure out how to do that. If you got to go down to the office, if you got to get your in-house nurse or one of your neighbors to carry you down into the Social Security office or the disability office and have the person there show you how to do it, record how to do it so that you can watch the video on how to do it later on and note take that nonsense. You need to learn how to get your stuff together. Because if you don't get your stuff together, the only person that's going to be hurting by that is you, not your kids, because your kids is grown, not your grandkids, because your grandkids is taken care of by your kids, not your neighbor, because if you at 85 years old ain't paying your rent on time because you don't know how to get your money on time, your landlord will put you out. They are not going to let, not in America, they are not going to let you stay on their property at 84 years old without paying your rent on time. They will put your old behind out on the side of the road, and you will sleep on the sidewalk until somebody scoop you up and take you to a nursing home. And best bless that if they help you get your benefits, then where your benefits is paying for your nursing home till you keel over and die. You better not allow yourself to go undone because you too old, because there ain't no such thing as too old to be sufficient. All right. I just had to go down that tangent here on this and that. We talk about this, that, and everything in between. First person accountability, regardless of your age. Now, tariffs will elevate the prices for essential goods like automobiles and consumer products, as I told y'all before, which is disproportionately burdening the low-income households already struggling with stagnant wages. So the cuts in funding for public housing, rental vouchers, and homelessness assistance further strains resources for low-income families, potentially decreasing housing insecurity. Or no, I'm sorry, it's increasing housing insecurity. Now, they're lowering the benefits for the homeless because they're making it mandatory for you to get out there if you're physically able to go and get your money. The only people that are still going to get money in the current economy is the already recognized disabled and veterans. Everybody else that is considered an able-bodied person, it don't matter if you're homeless or not. They're not going to show you no mercy. You better get off your behind and find a way to get you a job. If you can wash cars at a traffic light, you can open up a car wash. You better figure something out. Now, changes to Social Security and reductions to the supplemental Social Security income benefits will directly impact families with disabled children or multiple beneficiaries. So y'all women that used to back in the 80s and 90s used to take y'all kid out there and get them signed up for one of them crazy checks, is what they used to call it back in the day. It was a governmental funding because the child was determined to be mentally incompetent. So you would utilize that capital to subsidize your income. Depending on the age in which the child receives that income, they may receive enough benefits in their adulthood to never be physically responsible. Well, they are reducing the SSI benefits, and this is going to directly impact those individuals. reducing the financial support for some of the most vulnerable households. So y'all can't take advantage of that as much as y'all used to. And those of y'all that are already in those programs, y'all might see a pay cut. Tariffs related, we have tariff related job losses in industries reliant on the imported materials that could disproportionately affect low income workers, as these jobs often require less specialized skills and are concentrated in economically fragile communities. In addition to the tariff layoffs, the layoffs and buyouts at the U.S. Postal Service, USPS, announced in March of 2025 that they're having several short-term impacts on its operation and workforce, where y'all was thinking y'all was going to get y'all mail on time and y'all mail don't even show up. Y'all be like, where the mail person at? Mail person ain't here. Mail person got fired. There's one mail person running 3 routes now. Instead of you getting your mail before noon, you getting your mail at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. If you get it, you might not get your mail, but every third day of the week. You do better having all your mail redirected to the post office box, and then just go to the post office box and go get your mail once a week, because otherwise you're not gonna find your mail. You got stuff that's supposed to be coming in a timely fashion, and the shit ain't here yet. The elimination of 10,000 positions through voluntary early retirements is one of the largest workforce reductions in the USPS history, and this downsizing is expected to strain mail delivery services, particularly in rural and underserved areas where USPS plays a critical role in delivering medications, ballots, and other essential items. Now, the reason why this is important is because if you are dealing with medication being sent to your house, you need to probably pay the extra cost to have it FedEx to your house or UPS to your house, or have your medical provider find an alternative way where you can go and pick up your medication from whatever pharmacy it's located at, instead of them shipping it to your house, if you have the transportation to get out. Because if you don't find ways to bypass this failure, your medication won't get there. You're going to run out. Now, the other way that you can go about doing this is knowing that this is going to cause delays in the reception of your medication, is if you call the hospital 2 or 3 weeks early and order your refill, so that by the time it gets there, saying that everything is taking an extra week to be shipped, that you will still have at least half a bottle or a few pills left in your last bottle before you run out, and then your next bottle will show up so that you can just pick up where you left off. You're going to have to overlap your medication to make sure that you don't run out. And then if you're dealing with a situation where you got medication distribution and you're looking at 0 refills, once you realize that you have 0 refills, that's the day that after you refill that bottle, you contact your provider and let your provider know that they need to give you another refill if this is something that you're supposed to be taking for the rest of your life, so that they can queue up more refills in the upcoming months, so that by the time it's time for you to renew, your refill is already set, so that you don't have to have a delay to get an approval from the doctor, and then a delay to get it shipped, and then a delay for you to start taking your medication, where you could go a couple of weeks without medication, which if it's blood pressure medication or something like that, heart related, you could end up having a heart issue and dying before your medication gets to you. We want to avoid that. Now, with fewer workers, delays in the mail delivery and reduced service qualities are anticipated, affecting millions of Americans who rely on USPS. I try my best not to rely on USPS. I get routed to USPS when I'm ordering my stuff from China, because they're trying to ship it for free. I would prefer FedEx to drop it off. I don't care if FedEx kick a field goal with my package and it land in the middle of my porch or through my window or whatever. I would prefer to get my FedEx package, because I know that FedEx ain't going out of style yet. The layoffs have sparked opposition from postal unions representing 91% of the workforce, where union leaders warn that these reductions violate laws protecting USPS employees and could lead to further privatization efforts. which is crazy because they're forcing retirement where you're going to quit your job and get paid to stay at home. That ain't helping nothing because the same company is paying you to stay at home because you retired. That's different. If you're getting a paid retirement from a government entity, that's different from being terminated. A buyout, when they're going to pay you a certain quantity of salary for the remainder of the year, is allowing you a blanket of time to go find you another job before you're unemployed and broke. Retirement typically comes with a pension in some situations, or a 401k, a Roth IRA scenario where you can retire and start living off of the benefits from work, which is still coming out of the pockets of the company. They just have a lower workforce. Now, the voluntary retirement initiative may reduce morale among remaining employees who face increased workloads and uncertainty about the agency's future, especially if all the people that are forced to retire are the hardworking people that are in their 50s and 60s who've been working for the company for 30 years. And now we have all these young bucks that are in their early 20s protesting having to push something more than 5 pounds and trying to do their TikTok dances instead of getting a damn job done that the mail ain't going to get processed as fast as it used to. Which further emphasizes that if you order your stuff off of Temu, not only do you get it 30% of the price of Amazon, you can click the link because we got a Temu link in the description down below, but you also end up, they're offering $5 back off of every item that you get shipped if it is more than 14 days for it to be shipped. If it's taken UPS an extra 7 days for you to get your stuff, and stuff is being tied up in customs for an extra 7 days, it's going to take them 21 days to get you your 14-day guaranteed delivery, which means every time you buy something, you save $5. I would start buying stuff that costs less than $5 so that they can give me a free item with a couple extra dollars on top of that. Start turning the profit off the market. Now, these layoffs are seen by many as a step towards the privatizing USPS system, as the union believes, with major financial institutions like Wells Fargo outlining strategies to sell off profitable segments and raise prices, which means that your post office box is going to cost more money. Your stamps is going to cost more money. You're going to deal with a whole lot more stuff than what you would have been dealing with from before. You asked me, Bayside asked me, how's the quality of Temu products? Well, I bought a printer, works well. I brought ink cartridges that work well. I don't have anything that I can actually, the shoes that I showed you guys, that I bought, the big knife that I had bought, it works well for cutting stuff. I bought a scale. I didn't buy the scale for what other people buy scales for, but I did buy a scale because I wanted to weigh my packages. And that scale works really well. You can buy batteries. I actually bought batteries really cheap to go for the tack light. I bought the tack light for my gun, mags, holsters, the drop leg holster that I bought. You can buy clothes off of Temu. You got to understand the quality is excellent quality. It's not cheap, tethered stuff. The only difference is that some of the stuff that you're getting off of Temu doesn't have name brand stuff on it like Gucci and Louis Vuitton and like I can't think of any like it's not like Jordan. You might be able to find some Jordans on there, but the fact is that it's coming directly from the manufacturer. And since it's coming from a manufacturer and it's being sold online where there isn't holding costs, there isn't extra packaging and shipping costs after they've already paid packaging and shipping costs to get it to the holding warehouse. So you're ending up getting it closer to wholesale, which is cheaper. Because you have to understand the drop shipping from Amazon is that the person selling the item on Amazon bought it from the wholesaler, put a label on it. Then they have to increase the price because Amazon is charging an increased price for Amazon to package it and ship it for you with the next day shipping with Amazon Prime. Then you got to pay for packaging. If you buy it from the wholesaler and ship it to Amazon for Amazon to ship it for you, you have to pay the tariffs to get it here. Then you got to pay Amazon to send it to somebody else. In order for you to have a profit off of it, you have to buy or sell it at a higher price. Oh yeah, there's a ton of cool stuff up there. There's a ton of cool stuff up there. If you click that link, and then if you click that link, you do me a justice, because the link from my channel to the link from my channel to Temu, if you buy something directly from that link, they might actually throw me some change off of you buying some stuff. So I encourage you guys to use that link, because I do some affiliate marketing outside of telling you guys what is good for you. But this will save you money. This will save you money. And I encourage you to save some money, because if you save money on what you're buying, the difference between buying it from Walmart.com, which is a drop shipping company, the same way, because it's not coming from Walmart, it's coming from drop shippers who buy products and post it on Walmart.com. I used to do drop shipping with Walmart. I used to do drop shipping with Amazon. Same thing as Etsy and Shopify is the same thing. You as the brand pick up products from the wholesaler and then promote it on all of these sites, and then people pick your products up, and you can package it up and mail it off yourself, or you can spend a little extra money to pay somebody else to do it for you, where you automate the system. You got to pay more money to automate the system. You end up walking away with 10% or 5% of profits to automate the system. But if you're selling it on a larger scale, the difference is that you're going to make more profits by selling more stuff at a cheaper price, which is where Temu is making a killing. Now, the reason why I don't continue doing drop shipping, while there's a lot of money involved, I was able to make almost $10,000 in a single month off of just posting stuff up online and paying the cost for it to be shipped out. But the problem is that you're competing against every other drop shipper in that niche. And if you got somebody that's selling the same product you're selling and they keep reducing their price, you're going to end up not having a profit, trying to outdo them at reducing the price. And then you've got to find other products to sell when the profit margin is no longer valuable to you. So I'm not going to say don't do that. I just feel like it's a good idea to do, but it takes a lot of money to start up. And when I say $10,000 in profit, I had paid $2,500 into it and got back $12,500. So I made a $10,000 profit. I'm not saying that I made $10,000 out of all the money I invested into it. I'm talking about I actually got back $10,000 on top of the $1,200 that I put into it. Because when I count my profits, I count the money that I got back after I take off the expenses to go get it, because that's the cost of doing business. It doesn't matter how much it costs. If you put up $100,000, but you get back $200,000, you made $100,000 profit. And if I'm not making those kinds of profits, if I'm not looking at least 15 to 25% profits, then I'm not seeing that it's worth it. Which means that if I put up $1,000, I should come back with 1,150 after you take out the cost to make it happen. Which means that I could be getting back 30% on my $1,000. But if I'm being taxed 15% on it, I'm still walking away with a 15% profit. And that's what I look at, is that, well, that first 15% off of my 30% gain is the cost of doing business. That second 15% is my profit, because that first 1,000 is my principal. I'm not counting my principal. I only count the profit. Because if I got to reinvest the principal, what is my profit margin? If I'm investing $1,250 and I'm getting back $12,500, I'm gonna reinvest that $1,250 and keep getting back that $10,000. That's the way you're supposed to be able to operate your business. And when you're dealing with expansion, you typically want to take 40% of your profits and you want to reinvest it in whatever it is that you're doing, so that you can either have more resources to meet the demand faster, or you want to expand on the demand so that you can have more people demanding the supply, and eventually automate it so that you don't got to sit there and work on each and every individual product. You want to be able to set it up to where it's self-sufficient. It runs by itself. Now, the critics are worried that this will undermine the affordability and accessibility of the postal service for vulnerable populations. When we were talking about how Wells Fargo was going to raise prices for the post office, hundreds of people rally, and this has been some of the largest organized postal worker protests and activists to defend USPS against privatization efforts, highlighting its importance as a public service. Now, in 2025, we have experienced the federal government continues to lay off or offer buyouts to approximately 222,000 employees as part of President Trump's initiative to reduce the federal workforce and streamline government operations. This includes significant cuts across agencies such as the Department of Veteran Affairs, where they lost about 80,000 positions, and the Department of Education, who lost 50% of their workforce, and others like NOAA, NASA, and the IRS. The layoffs have raised the national unemployment rate by approximately 0.04%, according to estimates. While this is relatively small increases in percentage in terms, it represents tens of thousands of jobs lost for a man that said that he was going to create jobs during his presidency. The unemployment rate as of March of 2025 stands at 4.1%, which is up from 3.9% in early 2024. However, federal layoffs alone are not expected to drive recession unless combined with broader job losses in other sectors like automotives and the metals and other such with the tariffs. Now, areas heavily reliant on federal employment, such as Washington, D.C., and cities with large veteran affairs facilities, are experiencing more pronounced economic impacts due to the loss of federal wages and jobs. The layoffs have overwhelmed unemployment compensation programs like UCFE, leading to delays in benefits for affected workers. I couldn't even find the exact dollar amount of how many billions of dollars they have to pay out for the large quantity of layoffs that they're doing this year. But this is going to negatively impact for the next 12 months the unemployment compensation programs. Secondary job losses are emerging in private sectors that depend on federal contracts or grants, further straining the local economies. Despite the layoffs, USPS continues to face significant financial challenges, including a $9.5 billion deficit for the fiscal year of 2024. The cuts are part of the broader cost reduction efforts aimed at preventing bankruptcy within 2 years. However, critics argue that these measures alone will not address systemic issues like mismanagement of retirement funds and regulatory constraints, which is one of the reasons why DOJ is auditing everyone. And I don't believe that he has gotten to the U.S. Postal Service's budget yet. Tariffs contribute to inflationary pressures, with long-term inflation expectations reaching the 3-decade highs. This erodes purchasing power for low-income families who have less flexibility to absorb rising costs. See, some of the people that live in the states connecting to Canada can afford to pay the increased cost of the rise in electricity. Those individuals who can't afford to live in that city aren't going to experience the rise in costs. So when certain things happen, like the tariffs, that's going to make foreign car purchases more expensive, which will drive the middle class individual to go buy more American made cars, will increase buy at home and save money mentalities, made here, buy here scenario. But the fact is that individuals who can barely afford to buy the cars when the cars were cheaper, because you have to have a certain income to be able to afford the car, and now you have to have a 10% higher income level to afford to buy the same $10,000 to $15,000 car, you're probably going to fall back on buying used cars, which I think is a smarter move anyway, than you would being able to buy your very first brand new car for those people who are driven to buy at least one new car in their life. I've bought two, and I can tell you that the difference between buying a brand new car with 0 miles fresh off the lot and buying a certified pre-owned vehicle with 3,000 miles on it fresh off the lot is about $15,000. And the difference between that and buying a car with 55,000 miles on it is about $20,000. And if you're buying one that's got like 75 to 120,000 miles on it, the difference is now you're looking at about $30,000 difference for the same make and model. So if you can't afford a brand new car, what will not increase in inflated prices is used cars. Brand new cars are going to cost more money. Used cars are probably going to start becoming more readily picked up, which is also going to mean that the used car market is going to start experiencing inflation because they're going to not be able to keep their cars on, which means auctions are going to start becoming nuts because all the used cars are going to be highly accessible to the people who can't afford new cars, and the people who had cars that they owned are going to start selling all their cars off at the auction to try to get top dollar for it because they can't afford to go buy something new. I like the $30,000 savings. Me too. I got a 2008 and a 2003. I had two 2020 Dodge Ram 1500s. I gave one of them to a friend of mine. Just because I couldn't drive both of them. So, and the gas on it was terrible. The gas on it was terrible. And now I'm cruising, sunroofs and everything like that. And I was talking to my dad. My dad's like, "Oh yeah, we can go buy us a new car." I'm like, "Shit." It would be in our best interest to simply just fix something old, buy it, own it, fix it over time, and then reinvest in it. He said, "Awesome. I'm a truck man too. I love the truck. It was the big body. It was the 1500. So it was the big body Lamar, Dodge Ram Lamar. I had a tradesman too. They were both white. So do you know how awkward it was when the VIN numbers were the same with the exception of the last 4 digits? The exact same VIN number with only 4-digit difference. So I could do all kinds of stuff with them trucks. They could be like, "Oh, this truck was doing such and such on such and such route, such and such route." And I'm like, "No, it wasn't. It was in the shop. Look at the VIN number." And they couldn't say too much of nothing. They were identical, same year, same make and model, same VIN number, same color. I could swap plates and nobody be able to tell the difference. So, because my design at that time, because I was buying it for my business, was to buy a fleet. So in order to buy a fleet, what happens? All the vehicles look alike, right? So that means you're buying all the vehicles, same make and model, probably same year. I don't mind if I buy 100 2020 trucks in 2025, 2026, if I'm getting tax write-offs on them bad boys. But it was just a principle of the fact that it was good for business at the time. But yeah, I changed my mentality now, and I'm like, well, if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to buy something that I have 3 times more income to pay cash up front for that vehicle, then I'll buy it. So if I'm going to buy me a $50,000 vehicle these days, I have to have $150,000 or $300,000 worth of available capital where I can buy that vehicle cash up front. But I mean, if I'm going to be buying it off of the 15% dividends distribution, then that means I've got to be given $50,000 off of my 15%, which means I'm probably going to have about $500,000 in the bank or stocked up in the stocks and shares and stuff, where that $50,000 over the course of a year would be dispersed to me, where I could take that $50,000 and go and buy that truck. Or if I had $500,000 worth of stocks, I leveraged $100,000 worth of stocks to get a $50,000 cash loan, so I could use that $50,000 cash loan to buy the vehicle cash up front. And then the $1,000 a month worth of dividends distributed to me from my stocks, I would use that to pay the cash loan, so that I don't have to pay the cash loan. And that's a tax write-off on my taxable income from the stocks. And I own the car because it's 100% tax deduction the first year that you buy it. I own the car. So if I can make $50,000 that year and put it towards that loan, hey, I got the car cash up front. But that's how I'm starting to buy cars. I've got to be able to afford it as the profits from my dividend investments, as opposed to buying it with my principal, because the principal is only going to be there once. The dividend distribution will continue to come and the principal will never be touched. Now, Donald Trump's decisions this month have been surrounded by challenges and controversy, with many questioning his approach to his various issues. His movement has sparked intense debates, with some viewing them as necessary for the country's growth, while others see them as detrimental to its well-being. The backlash against some of the decisions has been severe, with many calling for more cautious approaches. As we delve deeper into its clear and cut understandings, we realize that and understand that the reasoning behind these moves is essential to grasping their potential impact, and this will require examining the context in which they were made. Now, Trump has taken several specific actions in March of 2025, each with its own set of potential motives and consequences. His economic policies, for instance, aim to stimulate growth, but critics argue they could lead to increased inequality. I told y'all when the man got into office that it wasn't about the poor. You're going to stimulate the economy by taxing the poor less on their overtime, because the poor is going to waste more of their extra money on buying stuff. That's going to stimulate the economy, but they're going to buy more stuff, which is going to create more jobs, because they're going to need more manual labor to reproduce the product. The people who are working to reproduce the product is going to spend more money because they're working more hours to make more money, which means that ultimately, where is the money going to stop? The money is going to stop in the pockets of the wealthy, the people who own the company that you're buying stuff from, the people that you own, that own the company that you work for, because you are a customer service representative of a company in the public. So if the people who are buying the stuff through you are paying your boss, and your boss is paying the owner, your money is going to somebody else's company where that's going to pay their boss, and their boss is going to pay their owner. The money is going up. The only time money comes down is when the wealthy decides to buy something, which isn't that often, which is why they're so rich. So yeah, it's going to cause an increase in inequality, because the people who can financially afford to live in this country is going to financially afford to live in this country, and everybody that's not making $30,000 or less in this country cannot get governmental assistance. And governmental assistance has been reduced. So if you're making $32,000 or $33,000, you're not getting food stamps, you're not going to get free health care, you're not going to get any of the benefits that you would get if you were that destitute to qualify for those benefits. Then the problem is that since you don't make enough money for government assistance, but the inflation has swallowed up all of your income, now you can't afford to survive. So in order for you to offset this deficit, now you guys are going to have to get you a second job, find you a side hustle, find you some type of very cheap startup where you can start doing something on the side that's going to throw you some extra cash to offset what you're doing. Which is why I said tomorrow, instead of us just talking about the minerals, that I was also going to throw in some information about some ways for y'all to find y'all some side hustles, some supplemental income somewhere where you guys can use some of the resources that you got to get some stuff that you need. And we're not just going to be talking about Uber, Lyft, and all this other stuff where you can use your car for a ride share situation. We're going to be talking about ways where you could potentially set up something that can be automated and generate revenue while you're at work, or generate revenue while you're asleep, so that you can make some kind of extra money, so that if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, the extra money from your side job can be invested in building your wealth. Because some kind of way, we got to find a way to make more money, make money for us. We can't keep staying broke and saying, well, it is what it is. We've got to put effort into making it into something else. Now, the context of these actions is key to understanding their potential effects to both domestically and internationally countries and economies. By examining the specifics of these policies, we can better comprehend the potential outcomes and how they might shape the future. Now, these actions have been met with a mix of support and criticism, underscoring the complexity of the issues at hand. And one of the most shocking moves made by Trump is uh, the approach on the foreign policies, which has raised eyebrows globally. Now, the implications of this move are, look at that, far reaching, potentially altering the course of international relations for years to come. And the unexpected turn has left many wondering about the motives behind the decision and what it might mean for the future of global politics. The move has significant ramifications both for the country standing on the world stage and for relationships with other nations, because you also got to think about while we're going to be experiencing more increased cost for some of the stuff that we buy, and we're not going to be looking at pay raises anytime soon for some of these low income jobs, because minimum wage in some areas is still between $5 and $15 an hour. And we need $30 an hour to deal with the inflation of tariffs. So anyone that's making $18 to $20 an hour is not looking at getting a pay raise to offset the need for an extra $15 an hour wage. So you have to find a second job. The other thing that you get to benefit from is that because the decisions that are being made by the president is reducing the debt, not in the immediate, but over time, this reduction of debt increases the value of the US dollar. And by increasing the value of the US dollar in currency exchange considerations, you have to understand that now is the time to take the US dollar and go invest in an offshore lifestyle, because if you have a US income where your US dollar is worth more money in another country, your $30,000 might be valued at $60,000 worth of income, where a $20,000 lifestyle is what you would need to survive there. With an extra $30,000 worth of money there, you've got a $40,000 worth of extra investment capital that you can live the high life on. Because we just talked about last week, Wednesday, 5 or 7 different countries where less than 30,000 a year, less than 50,000 a year, you would be living an upper middle class or upper class lifestyle in a different country. We call them all third world countries because they're not America, because if they're not first world or third world, that makes no sense. We just identify them as third world countries because we devalue them in comparison to our country. They are underdeveloped in comparison to America, but they are also cheaper in comparison to the inflationary cost of living in America. Because as we make more money, we waste more money, and as we waste more money, that increases inflation, which increases the cost of stuff, which requires us to earn more money. And then as we earn more money, we waste even more money. It's a round robin situation. Instead of us making more money, investing more money to turn more profits like the people in Dubai, and then taking those profits and investing it into the lifestyle that we want, where we don't have to work as much, where we would mitigate inflation by refusing to pay a certain amount of money for certain stuff. Once you start saying that a vehicle costs more than $20,000, nobody buys it, they will reduce the cost of that vehicle because their 2025s won't get sold until the cars are worth less than 20 grand. If we refuse to buy a cell phone, if a cell phone is more than a certain amount of money, if we said, well, we're not buying a cell phone, it's over $500, when there's a law out there that said that it's supposed to stop at $750. But the fact is that they're selling it for $1,600 because the phone companies are not selling it to you for $1,500 out the gate. They're selling it to you on a payment plan where you're renting it for $1,500 plus interest for 2 years, where now you're paying $1,800 for a $1,500 phone. It's only valued at $400, turning a massive profit off of it because you're willing to pay $35 a month for that phone for 18 months because you can't afford to pay for the phone. You know what's funny about the fact that T-Mobile gave you guys that if you pay the taxes on the phone, they'll prorate the phone for quote unquote free? Why do you think they're doing that? Because you was only supposed to pay that $600 for the phone in the first place. That's how much it's supposed to cost. So when they do those prorated deals and they're like, oh yeah, pay the taxes and get the phone free, that's because they weren't supposed to charge your ass that much money for the phone anyway. But it's an indirect way to put you into a contract. And once you're in that contract, if you terminate services before the 18 months or 24 months, then they can charge you the full amount for the phone, because that amount for the phone is a back charge of the breach of contract, not for the purchase of the phone. So now when I look at the phones, instead of me looking at a phone and saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and get X, Y, and Z phone. Nah, I'm gonna go get the phone on a promo where all I got to do is pay that $600 for the phone, because you can go get your phone from Metro PCS for $500. I'll pay $600 for an iPhone 16 and then write off the cost of the $1,500 phone, and the promo will pay the monthly payments on the phone. I don't have to pay the monthly payments on the phone, but I did buy a $1,500 phone, which I'm going to claim on my taxes because it was a $1,500 phone. That's how that works. I'll tell y'all got to find ways, and you're not buying a phone every year. That's stupid. And even if you say, well, I'm going to buy the phone on the promo, and then I'm going to trade the phone in a year or two and then get another phone. Well, if the phone costs you $600 and the phone is only worth $400, if you hold the phone for 3 years, that's $200 a year for the phone. If you trade it in for another phone when there's nothing wrong with your current phone, and you're wasting your money, because you're still renting the phone for $200 a year. And then when you pay off the payment plan and upgrade to get another phone where the only thing they did was improve the camera, maybe you got one with a 2 terabyte data space on it, but they ain't did nothing else. So how are they making it better for you? Like they're not. So you have to start thinking about how this is fiscally responsible for you. If you're going to upgrade your phone from an A14 to an iPhone S26, that's a massive upgrade. If you're going to do that type of upgrade, then they've got to be able to show you that the $500 you're paying on this phone will last your phone 5 years. Where you're paying $100 a year, that's a little under $10 a month. That makes more sense. Financing a phone for $35 a month, where you're paying the $35 a month every month, and then you're going to trade the phone in for a new phone where you're still going to pay the taxes on the phone and then still pay the $35 a month. You're forever leasing a phone that you never own. It's not yours. And if you ever can't pay the bill, they're going to back charge you on everything else. You got to pay that whole sumbitch off. You will not know how cheap your phone bill is when you don't have equipment fees attached to your monthly plan. Here on This and That, we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Now, as the situation continues to unfold, it's becoming increasingly important to consider the potential long-term effects. Now, the key point from Trump's recent actions highlights the complexity and potential impacts of his decision. Now, we're gonna look at how this move is crucial, where we're gonna grasp the evolving political landscape. So check this out real quick, because all of the 700 points, that's a lot of points to come out of. That's 700%. That's a lot of points to come off of which means that they lost 7 times their investment recently. That's what that means. Now, so if you invested $7,000, you got about $1,000 right now. That's what that means. You lost a lot. Everybody pulling out. But that means that it's worth a fraction of what it was worth once before. Once those tariffs stop, that stock is going to go back up. While it's low, now you buy in. That's what that means. What that means is that this type of stuff that devastates those individuals that have emotional investing, they're panicking and pulling out ahead of time, which is fine if you pulled out before the dip. But if you missed it and you're in the dip, you might as well just wait it out. Because if you did not pull out before the dip, if you pulled out before the dip happens. Once the dip levels off and you buy back in with the same amount of money that you pulled out, you're buying way more shares. So when it goes back up to the rate that it was when you pulled out, you're going to have way more money. take advantage of the decline. So instead of bitching about how the economy is going to shit because Trump is making all of these moves, it's like, well, hold on now. Us broke folks can get in there and make us some extra cash while this shit's going down. I was just sitting over here looking at how I just got dividend distributions from one of the three real estate investment trusts that I just bought into. They really are paying 12 cents a share. I had a lot of shares. I was like, Jesus, look at how much they paid me. I said, well, hold on now. I'm going to do my monthly, put a large quantity in my monthly, and then take the monthly distribution and put it off on my quarterlies. That way, by the time my quarterlies hit, my quarterlies are going to pay me more money. And then I take those quarterlies and throw them down on my monthlies. And that way, my monthlies will give me more to throw down on my quarterlies by the time the next quarter hits. But the whole time that the market is down, I'm buying in. I'm not selling nothing. When the market goes back up, that's when I can start selling stuff. And then I can take the profits off of what I sold and put it into another stock. Continue to diversify the platform. And in doing so, you're going to forever see your portfolio grow. So instead of panicking at the market, not too many things are going to go bankrupt. But if you diversify your portfolio, if something does go bankrupt, you're not losing all your money. You're only losing a fraction of your money. If you're going to have a whole portfolio of real estate investment trusts, you should probably try to get 10, 15, 20 of the best ones that they got. That way, if one of them goes under, you're only losing 10% of your money. And if you put the same amount in all of them, which is an OCD move, if you put the same amount in all of them, you're literally only losing 10%. But if you have more money in the ones that are putting out higher distributions and less money in the ones that have low distributions, if the low distribution falls off, you're losing even less than 10%. But overall, once this economy starts stabilizing in 26 and 27, you're going to be looking at even more profits coming from anything you buy in quarter 2 of 2025. Quarter two and quarter 3 are the quarters. I told you guys all this year and all last year that all the dips happen at the end of quarter 1, beginning of quarter 2. Things start balancing out in April and May and June. Quarter 2, quarter 3. End of quarter 2, beginning of quarter 3. After the 4th of July, everything starts going up, but there's going to be a slight dip right before school in August. And after that dip is going to continue to go back up until Halloween. Right there, that's when everybody is going to start doing all kind of recklessness for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So you're going to see another dip. Right after Thanksgiving, you're going to see a rise and another dip before Christmas. And right after Christmas, you see another rise for the end of tax season. If you know this and you're in the dip, now's the time to buy in. Don't matter what you're investing in. Now's the time to buy in. Buy in and don't worry about it. Don't worry about how low it gets. Buy in and leave it there. And then when it starts going up, if you decide to sell, you can sell. I recommend, though, so that you're not being stuck with so much taxes, that you put more money into your stock than you get out of your stock before the end of the year so that you can consider whatever you paid into the stock a financial loss versus what you got out of the stock as a profitable gain. If you spent more money than you made, you don't have taxes to pay. You have to remember that. But you have to make sure that you spent more money than you made by the end of the year. So if you sell off a lot of stocks and you get back 20 grand, you need to make sure you put 30 grand back into them stocks so that when they say, hey, he got 30 grand off, he got 20 grand off of us. Yeah, but he gave us 30. He's still not paying taxes. Now, while these policies aim to bolster manufacturing and federal revenue, their immediate effects include higher costs, reduced access to critical benefits, job losses, and increased economic insecurity for low-income families. And I told y'all this before the man got elected, that the low-income community that voted for him is going to suffer first. Some of it is going to negatively impact the middle class, but most of it is going to impact the lower class. And 95% of it, no, actually, we're looking at 74% of the population that makes less than $100,000 a year. Y'all are the ones that are going to be impacted by this. Y'all are going to be the ones that's going to be impacted by this. The 34% of Americans that make less than $50,000 a year, y'all are going to be the ones that's going to be impacted by this. The other 35% of the wealthy that's not going to feel this at all. Yeah, they're losing more money than what they wanted to. They're counting how much money they could have made versus how much money they're making. but they're making more money than they need either way. So they're a little bit disappointed, but it doesn't hurt them. It's not like they're going to not be able to golf on a yacht in the middle of the Atlantic. It's not like they're not going to be able to be sipping Mai Tais in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle. It just means that the percentage that they were projecting in their 20-year plan is now going to be altered a little bit. So with that being said, yeah, there's a lot of shifts and changes in the country that not a lot of us expected to see. But with that being said, we're still going to be able to experience a large quantity of benefits for the rest of us that are trying to make money for us in the economy, while the economy is in fact putting us in a position to break that wealth. But one thing I want to do real quick, Basa, you were here yesterday, and remember he said that I look like Joker, right? So I want to go ahead. I want to throw this up here real quick because I feel like it needs to be done. It's a Batman and Robin scenario, and I'm Batman. So this hold on, let me see if I can take this down. No, it doesn't let me do a full screen. This is the 2019. So whenever Diddy shows up, this is the 2019 Joker. Now, yesterday I was wearing a blue shirt. It was blue and white, light blue and white, with the matching tie and a gold blazer. Now, he said that I had the Joker outfit on. Joker is clearly wearing a forest green shirt. If that's not bronze, an orange looking gold color with red. Now, I'm wearing yellow gold, not an orange looking gold color. Nowhere in there do I resemble the Joker outfit. That's not even a slim fit. He's scrawny. He looked like he should eat something. I look like I don't miss meals. But he said we kind of look the same. I just wanted to put that up there. So whenever we find Diddy, remind me to show Diddy, because I got this photo. I'm going to have it queued up every show till he get here, because I think Diddy was colorblind. He said, oh, it kind of looked the same. How does it kind of look the same? How does it kind of look the same? That's blue. That's green. This is gold. That's orange. That's red. I ain't got nothing red on. The only thing that's the same color is his face paint and my headset. But, yeah, that's what I was looking at. I was like, man, I knew when I told him that I was right, that I traditionally Joker's never worn blue and gold. Traditionally, he's worn the purple and white, the purple and yellow, the orange and red and green, but he's never worn the blue and white. But be that as it may, I just have to make sure that when I make it make sense, that I let everybody know that I'm making it make sense. And I'm also trying my best to keep everybody on point with factual information. So whenever I see a myth, I try to take my time to debunk it. That is all I've got for you guys for today. There was a lot of stuff that happened, but out of the stuff that happens that affects us financially, I kind of ran through a lot of it. So with that being said, I'm going to get everything together for for tomorrow's show, because I'm coming back tomorrow night, close to 10 o'clock. And we're going to be tap dancing around, we're going to be tap dancing around, making some extra money and diamonds and other minerals, so that we can see what's going on with investment opportunities, because we've got to make money for us. If you're going to be investing and having your assets on your person, you might as well just buy you a bag of diamonds and hold on to that blood money like it's nothing nice, but regardless of what you do, you got to start taking your broke ass out there, make you some money, and take that money and put it somewhere where that money is making money for you, so that you can stop working so damn hard. That is one of the goals of this and that, because a higher valued individual, man or woman alike, is only going to be status wise of higher value when they can benefit their partner, and they are only going to be self-satisfied when their standard of living is met without all of the effort that is required to make that standard of living. So I'm going to help you guys find ways to meet those expectations. So now I still got to get our country of choice for the week. Ukraine was asking me to do Ukraine, but I had a few other countries in mind that I was supposed to be doing. So I got to go back and look at some of the other shows a few weeks back and see which shows that I did say that I was going to do, so I could try to maintain that order, because I try my best to be a man of my word to the best of my ability. I'm not always successful with things that are outside of my control, which is one of the reasons why I try my best not to make promises that I can't guarantee. But I definitely reassure people that I do the best that I can to stay on top of what I say that I'm going to do, so that you can at least stake you could cash that check. Like Big Mama used to always say that you could take what I said to the bank, cash, and get you some change back. That's one of the ways that I like living life, because the old days, they used to say that a man was only as good as his word. These days, the young bucks, the Gen Z, say that I put that on my face. I put that on my daddy face. I put that. I don't even know how they expect that. Like, add it to the bill, put that on the hit list. Like, what? Put it on the wanted poster. I've never understood what put it on his face means. Because I mean, you know, the way it sounds is like you're gonna crush his skull with a bag of cash or a bunch of debt. But either way it goes, I'm like, I don't like that terminology. It's like, put it on his face. Like, what? Add that to my wanted poster. What? Stack that to my credit. What? Staple it to the bottom half of page 13 of my credit report. What? Add it to my driving record. What? I don't understand. Put it on the back end of my criminal record. What? I don't understand what they mean by add it to my face, but whatever. Man is only as good as his word, and I try to stay on top of that. Likewise, special shout out to all of those that are watching us on Twitch and Twitter. Red Void, Omni81, Liberty Twitcher, Danny Steffen. I really appreciate y'all for showing us love. We got 75% of the podcast followed us by fellas. I really appreciate those of you that's looking at us on Twitter, and I already said Twitch. So special shout out to Twitter for all the people that are coming and giving us a look real quick on our way out tonight. Make sure that y'all remember that we're live 7 nights a week. In addition to that, I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And as we walk out tonight, I want to make sure that y'all know any comments that are thrown up that are appropriate will be thrown up during the outro song, Higher Ground, as we walk off the show. We got a 4-minute outro song. I love listening to them. So while I'm here rocking out to Higher Ground, you guys can throw your comments up. Outside of that, thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity. That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.